We hope you can enjoy this program. We're going to be having tentatively a few things going on. The order might depend on how ready we are. The telescope is trying to locate whatever we need to find in the sky. We're going to have a short speech by Sheikh Anwar, who is going to introduce some of the verses and connections from the Quran on the subject of astronomy. And then we have our own Hussein, who is going to share a few words, maybe a couple of slides. We also have a bonfire that we are trying to get set up, so I would encourage everyone to be able to participate.
Something that emerges. Are there any other verses in the Quran where Allah speaks about stars? What is the function of a star? Oh, by the way, even a butterfly. When the butterfly emerges from the cocoon, they use the word najm, right? Something that emerges from something else. So, what is the function of a star? Or stars in general? Sorry? And light. And what is the emission of light for us? How does it benefit us? How does it affect us? Sorry? How? Navigation. So today we have Google Maps, right? But in the olden times, the sailors, when they would go out into the seas, their guidance would be from the stars, astronomy. They would look at certain patterns within the skies, within the heavens, or the skies. They would look at the patterns of the stars and they would be able to distinguish and understand where exactly they need to go. And the ayah mentions this. وَعَلَامَةٍ لِلنَّجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. And through the guidance and the signals of the stars, they are guided. Does that make sense? So when you look at the idea of najm, something that emerges, what emerges from the stars? Guidance, direction. You know exactly where you need to go in the darkest hours of the night. Even the travelers use during the desert nights, they look at the stars to know exactly which path they need to go in order to reach their destination. But the word najm is also in reference to the Quran itself. Can you see what's the word that I'm looking for? The relationship between something that emerges and the Quran being labeled as a najm. Sorry? No, see? Everything makes sense. I can't believe it. It emerged in the night of Qadr. Ahsantum. Why did it emerge? You told me when it emerges, but why does it emerge? Why was the Quran given to us? Guidance. Ahsantum. وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا Hawa. And the star when it descends. What descended on the night of Qadr? The Quran. Yeah? So you have guidance that is emerged or has emerged on the night of Qadr. How does the Quran serve as a guidance for us today? You know, amongst the scholars, they use a particular phrase, a particular word. They use the word tajneem or tanjim. Tanjim is when the star gradually descends. So what the ayah says, when najmi ila hawa, the star that descends, the purpose of which is it emerged to guide. My question now is, how does the Quran guide? It's a very, very specific verse, right? Not only does it tell you the role of the Quran, but it also tells you how the Quran, through specific specifically a time frame guides humanity. So how does the Quran guide? Clarity of distinguishing right from wrong. It teaches us something that we as human beings would not be able to understand. The Quran talks about a higher reality. It guides us. That's the function of the Quran. The Holy Prophet is also known as a legend. The role of a star is to guide people. The role of the Prophet is to guide people. Right? So when the Prophet, in some of the narrations we have this historically, when the Prophet communicated with this community, the people were not ready to listen to him. And he would come to them and he would say to them that I am a guide, I'm a teacher, I know exactly where you need to go. You assume that you know where you need to go, but I can tell you for a fact where exactly you need to go and which direction you need to take. And so whenever the people would go in the opposite direction or take a path other than the path of the Holy Prophet, with sadness, with grief, he would say to them, Aina tadhabun, where are you going? You're supposed to go in this direction. Comes back under this whole concept of najm, star, something that emerges to bring forth guidance. So where are you going? The Quran specifically serves as a guidance for that community because it was revealed over 23 years. We know this, right? The Quran was revealed over 23 years. Why was the Quran revealed over 23 years? Why wasn't the Quran revealed all in one go? Oh, I am losing you guys. You guys have turned off.
Different stages.
What do you mean by that?
From Prophet from 40 to 63 went to different phases and they're answering questions at different times. So different phases, the ayat were revealed.
I like that. What would have happened if the Quran was revealed all in one go? Sorry? If the Quran was to be revealed all in one go, the people were not ready to receive it. The people did not have the capacity to receive what the Quran was given to them. You know when you have a child and you sit down with the child and you teach it, and you teach them basic mathematics. But then when you start teaching them mathematics that is taught at the university level, you know that the child does not have the capacity to understand. The child has to develop. It has to understand the deeper levels of mathematics so that he can understand the higher levels of mathematics. It's the same principle. If the Quran was to be revealed all in one go, the people would have not benefited from it because they didn't have the capacity to accept it. So Rasulullah was training them, one day at a time, 1 year at a time. As the verses were being revealed slowly, that change was transformative. Slowly the people were changing. Does that make sense? The Quran in itself was transformative. The revolution of Rasulullah was aided through the Quran and he was successful. The fact that he was able to transform an entire community from being ignorant to being people who were the forefronts of academia, that was an amazing transformation. You know, in the world of academia today, the primary language is English. All of the papers that are being published in universities, they're all published in English. But for 600 to 700 years, academia was run by the Arabs. And so a lot of the academic papers, this was during the golden age of Islam. All of the papers in astronomy, biology, medicine, physics, logic, everything was published in Arabic. Where were the Arabs? How did they evolve to what they were? Even today, when you look at modern sciences, especially in psychology, in philosophy, everything is taken from the Arabs at the time. hearing the golden age of the sun. Yeah? And this is a question that you should think of. I'm not going to give you the answer. Today, in 2026, I interact with the Quran. How can the Quran guide me today? If the Quran is a book of guidance, how can the Quran guide me today? What do I need to do with the Quran so that I can actually benefit from it? I'm not going to give you the answer. This is something for you to think of. Yeah, we have a limited number of days in Ramadan. Inshallah, we can explore this answer. Ahsantum. Jazakumullah khairan jazak. Ladies, gentlemen, children, and family, for the remainder of the night, inshallah. Ahsantum.
Alright, assalamu alaikum everyone. Who was able to see Jupiter tonight? Did you guys see Jupiter's moons? Alright, so we're just going to play a 2-minute clip about one of the moons of Jupiter named Io. So there's 4 moons of Jupiter, and I'll go for, in depth a little bit. Actually, yeah, there's over 100 moons of Jupiter, actually, but there's 4 big ones. And so this one is very, very interesting, so we're going to just play it right now. So this is what, for people who didn't see, this is what you should have seen. Something similar to this. Jupiter is a gaseous planet, so it's gas. And these striations of red is actually gas. And those planets around Jupiter, were actually first discovered by who? Is it Galileo and John? And so back in the day, everyone thought the Earth was the center of the universe. Do you believe that? They thought Earth was the center of the universe. But he looked at the telescope and he said, wait a second, there's some things going around Jupiter, and it looks like it's not going around the Earth, it's going around Jupiter. So he was the first one that said that actually the Earth is not the center of the universe. We're all going around the sun. And yes. So do you guys kind of did you hear it? It was a little hard to hear. But Io is the most volcanic place in the solar system. So the moon that we just saw today with the telescope has the most amount of volcanoes in the whole solar system, to the point where the volcano blasts lava into the atmosphere. The other moon, does anyone know the name of the other moons of Jupiter? By any chance? No? So the second one is called Europa. Europa is completely ice. The whole thing is ice, and it's shiny. So when you look at it with the telescope, it's kind of bright. And we're figuring out that underneath the ice is actual water, liquid water. So scientists today say that in our whole solar system, the most probable place where there's life outside of Earth is Europa. Not Mars or the moon. It's probably Europa. Most probable place of having life. So that's the second moon of Jupiter. The third is called Ganymede. It's different colors. It's the third moon of Jupiter, biggest. Has all kinds of different colors. And the fourth one is called Callisto. It's the oldest moon, and it has huge craters. And so we saw all 4 of them today. And then just the last point about one of the moons, the speed of light was calculated long time ago because of Europa. Because it was so shiny, as Europa was going around Jupiter, it would pass into the shadow of Jupiter. And when it would come out, it would pop up. And so when people looked at a telescope, they would be like, oh, it's popping up. And that was exactly 42 days. Every 42 days, exactly, it would pop up from behind Jupiter. And from that, people hundreds of years ago were able to calculate the speed of light. Muslims did it. And like the Sheikh was saying, half the stars in the sky, more than half the stars in the sky, are names, Arabic names, because the Muslims went and discovered it. But yeah, so that's for whoever didn't see it. Sorry, it's kind of cloudy now, but the moon is rising, so inshallah we'll be able to see the moon. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's simple. Any questions? Muhammad sallallahu.
Thank you, everyone. Feel free to resume eating because I don't want any leftovers tomorrow. I'm fasting. As well as try and keep the place tidy for these dishes. You can put it in the tub out there. It's on fire. Be safe. Enjoy the rest of your night.
What are you learning from your brother, huh?
He's the one that taught us. What are you talking about, bro? Huh? You know the guys that behind the curtain?
Well, he's not there. One day I decided to take a letter and I almost worked it.